Welcome to another Tales from the Front video where we do walkthroughs of solutions for real Power BI users out on the Power BI community. If you aren't already participating in it, I definitely encourage you to do that. It's a great place to get help if you need it, to learn from seeing the solutions other people have provided. And when you get a little more experience, you can help others learn the stuff that you've picked up. Here's my contact info, so please follow me on Twitter, or if you like these videos, subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can be notified when more of them come out. This one is another Power Query M topic, and I would categorize it on the intermediate side. It's maybe basic intermediate. So let's jump into our scenario. And so today we're going to be talking about pulling numbers out of text strings. And so if we look at our scenario, this particular person had a table of data that had a column that had long text strings in it. And within the text string, there were numbers embedded in it. And some were short numbers and some were long numbers, and they only needed the longer numbers, so the ones that were greater than or equal to 5 digits. Before we jump over to the query editor, let's just think about what we need before we start writing code. Basically we've got these long text strings, so we need to sort of break them up into, words or, pseudo words there, extract the numbers from each one, and then once you have just the numbers, keep the numbers that are 5 or more digits. And so this one uses a bunch of functions that are really useful to know. If you can probably tell from earlier videos, I'm a huge fan of the list functions in Power BI, and I definitely would encourage you to use this page in the Microsoft documentation to see the list functions. And I actually have list functions bookmarked because I use this one so often. If you just go through here, you can see all the things you can do with lists. And so it's a really good technique to transform something into the list space so you can do all the things you can do with list functions, and then transform it back out of the list space to get your final result. And of course, there's record functions and all the other functions as well. So these aren't the only great functions, but I use list functions for lots of the more tricky solutions that I have to come up with. All right, so let's go back to Power BI, and we'll go to the query editor. And basically, this is a simulation of what the person had here. So all I have is two rows here, but long text strings that have numbers in it. Some of them are short and some are long. And there's other characters in there as well, quotes and commas and all that. So the first thing I do when I approach something like this is I use the text.split function. And the text.split function is basically what you use to go from the text space into the list space. And it's a real simple function where you do text.split. So I'm just adding a custom column, putting in this formula. And because I have spaces between all these things, I'm going to put text.split, the name of my column, and then in quotes I put the character that I want to use to separate. So if you had a list separated by commas or semicolons, you would put that character here. In this case, it's a sentence, so I'm just going to put a space there. All right, so I do that. And again, hopefully you know this trick that if you click to the right of the thing that is a hyperlink, you can get a preview of it. And so you can see that it separates this at all the spaces and gives me a list of these text values here. And same thing for the second one. All right. And so now the second thing I want to do is I want to just pull out the numbers out of each one. So you see this one has numbers and letters, these two, and some of these don't have any numbers. So what we're going to use list.transform and text.select to do that. And so list.transform, I'll pull open this so you can see just the custom column code that's there. And so in this case, I'm using the text split column that I made from the previous step, which is a list. And so I'm feeding a list into list.transform. And then the syntax of list.transform is you do comma each. And then this is where you can apply a function to every item in the list, and it'll iterate through each of the items in that list and do that. And so in this case, I'm going to apply the function called text.select, which is a really useful function as well, which you could say, hey, I'm going to feed you some text, and I only want you to keep certain characters. And in this case, and how you provide those characters is in list form. And this is a shorthand to write, give me a list from 0 to 9 of the text version of the number 0 to 9. And so this would be, a list of 0 to 9 in text form would be this list. And basically, many of the functions as you get into this, you'll see has this underscore. And that's basically how you reference the current list item that you're iterating over, right? So basically, go through this list, take the first one, pull out just any characters that are in this list, 0 to 9, and then go on to the next one. And so the result of list.transform is another list. And so if we preview that list, you can see that now the words that were only text are now null because they didn't have any numbers in them. So there was nothing that came back. And the ones that had A and B prefix in the second one, now those are gone and we've only kept the numbers. And again, you could keep just the characters, you could keep syntax, and remember these are case sensitive. So if you did double quote A dot dot double quote Z, you would also need to do double quote capital A dot dot double quote capital Z, right? To keep either lowercase or uppercase. So it's important to remember that M is case sensitive. All right, and so now I've got this list, and so now I just want to keep the ones that are more than 5 digits long. And so you see we want to exclude this one and certainly want to exclude all these ones that have 0 digits. And so with that, we can use the list.select function. And if we look at the formula for that, it's very similar to list.transform. And it's basically saying list.select, again, you feed it a list, and then it evaluates something for each thing. So in this case, I'm saying for each item in the list, apply this this comparison and only keep the ones that are true. And so in this case, I'm using the text.length function, which does what it sounds. And again, I have the underscore again, which says, as you're iterating through the list, put the list item here for each iteration. And so basically it's saying only keep the items in the list that are greater than or equal to 5 characters long, okay? And so if we do that again, we end up with the list. We're getting real close to the end here. And so now we've only kept the things in the list that were greater than or equal to 5 characters long. And so then our last step here is to use the text.combine function. And if text.split brings you from text space into list space, text.combine is how you get from list space back into text space. And this is kind of like a concatenate_x type of function. And so here, the syntax is text.combine. The input parameter is a list, and then you basically say what you want to be the delimiter to be. And so I just use comma space here, but you can put whatever you want there, and that'll be what's between the values there. And so you can see the output here. Each of those lists had 2 values, so they're concatenated together with comma space. And from here, the user could, split on the comma, unpivot, whatever's needed. Okay, so hopefully this teaches you some tricks that you may use going forward when you need to, take a text string and break it up into a list to do things to it, to move it, split it into columns and do whatever to do after that. All right, and of course it is possible, I showed you this in a bunch of steps, but it is possible to do this all in one step. And again, you can just nest all these functions together, and this basically does that. Okay, so you don't need to do it in multiple steps like that. You can do it in one shot, and it'll be more efficient and fewer M steps. Okay, so hopefully this is informative to you. And again, if you like these videos, please subscribe. Let me just show you the key points here. again, I'm a big fan of these list functions, and so going in and out of list space with text is a common thing, not just text, other things as well. So I encourage you to start using them, um, and that's the main points there. So again, subscribe to these if you like these videos, and thank you.